I'm just going to make sure we're coming through on the YouTube page, and then we will get started on the show.
Yes, perfect.
There it is. Let me just make sure the volume's coming through. I see the video. Okay. All right. We are live. Hello and welcome, everybody. So this is episode 20 of the Take Note Chat, and my guest today is Anna of the YouTube channel Anyusha. Anna is going to show us some strategies and tips to help you develop an unbreakable daily planning habit. We'll be taking your questions and comments throughout this live video on the YouTube chat box. You can just go ahead and type them in at any time. And if you're watching this on replay, you can add your comments and thoughts later in the comments below this video. You can also post or share about this event using the hashtag takenotechat. And before I tell you about Anna, I wanted to ask if anybody with us live has challenges or tips for making the habit of working from your plans daily, make that just like a daily part of your life. This is a topic of particular interest to me because I feel like this is a challenge I hear people express often. Like they'll come up with this great plan or notes for the day or an outline or something. And then, fires pop up, emails, this, that, and the other, and they never get back to those plans. So tell us about your challenges or your tips for dealing with that. While you're typing that in, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about today's guest. So Anna is a YouTube creator who is passionate about helping people with planning and setting goals and keeping your life organized. She creates videos on how to use planners, bullet journals, apps, and technology, all while glowing up internally and externally with self-care and self-development. And I would like to add to that she has some great tutorials on how to make planner style pages in OneNote. And I know that's a huge interest for a lot of people. So go ahead and check her channel out for some of those really cool planner style pages. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, how is everyone? I hope y'all are good.
Yeah. Deb says hello.
Hi.
So, hi, Deb. So I think, one of the challenges I have is my plans become, I put too much on my daily page, and it becomes tempting just to like sort of set that aside so I don't have to deal with the overwhelm and just kind of work on whatever's in front of me. So I know that that's not a great habit, and I would like to do better on that. So hopefully we'll get some good tips here. I wanted to, I kind of mentioned this already, but I think this topic's really interesting because people do struggle with using whatever tool, whether it's an analog tool, a digital tool, an app, but they struggle with using the plans that they created in the tool they created. And this is about more than just like sticking to your list. It's not about being inflexible or, I did this, I said I was going to do this and I did it. It's about the deeper concept is making a plan and sticking with it so that you're living your life intentionally and not just running from one urgent thing to the next. So, Anna, do you have anything to add on that topic?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely guilty of this, especially what you mentioned earlier about putting too much on your daily list. Oh my God, I'm so guilty of that. And then I beat myself up for it because I didn't do everything. You know what I mean? So, especially when it comes to switching up your planning routine, I think it's definitely harder to get into the habit of it because it's not automatic initially. So obviously I used to plan with paper, but now I use OneNote. And at the beginning of that, it was hard to keep the habit of opening up OneNote and seeing what I have for the day and using that to plan. So for sure.
Yeah. And what about the idea of the concept we're talking about is deeper than just, ticking off items on your to-do list. It's about making sure that you've set your priorities and you're living kind of more intentionally.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think we're all guilty of this. We look at our list and we pick the things that are easiest to do that are not so high priority. And then we're like, oh, we did so many things. And then the like things that are very important and urgent are still not done. So this is definitely something I even sometimes struggle with. I think we all do. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's a kind of a pitfall, is that picking things
mm,
easy just so you get that gratification of checking something off. And it may not be the thing that's going to move your life in the direction you want it to go.
exactly.
So that's a really
Yeah.
good, pitfall. So if you don't know me, I'm Michele Christensen, and we're here on my YouTube channel. I create videos on OneNote and related topics like goal setting and life management and productivity. So can you kind of see why I asked Anna to be here? I found her channel and I'm like, oh my God, this person's amazing. I'm passionate about online communities and sharing knowledge. That's like one of my big things, is I love to bring people together and have everyone just pool their knowledge for the greater good. I host the largest OneNote group on Facebook, and that's called the OneNote Bullet Journal group, and 2 other OneNote groups as well. Links for both Anna and myself can be found in the description of this video, along with any links we mention during the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and check the chat, and then we'll get into our content. Okay. We have we have just a quiet group today. So Anna's going to show us 4 ideas that you can use for keeping up with a habit to plan daily. And if you prefer to plan a week at a time, that's fine too. We're just talking about the concepts of being consistent and using whatever tools that you are going to use to have the life you want. So let's get into our content. Anna, if you're ready, go ahead. You can go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah, just a second.
Let me get back to my.
Now let
There
me
we
know if you
go.
can see that. Is that good?
Yep. There we
All
go.
right. Perfect.
It's coming through
So,
just fine. Beautiful.
yeah.
Okay. So what's your first idea?
So my first idea is starting simple and small. I know we're all guilty of this. We do something new and we go like 0 to 100 real quick. So this is really important to just calm down and just do it slowly and one by one, So if you're new to planning, I recommend start off with a simple to-do list and move on from there. And when you get more comfortable with the habit of a to-do list, you can get more advanced. And we will talk about the ways to get more advanced in your digital planning or daily planning later. So, but this is the first thing you have to keep in mind for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with that. Like, one of the best things I heard about getting started with something, there's this saying that anything worth doing is worth doing well. And I
Mm,
totally disagree with that. There was a business mentor named Adam Urbanski. You can find him online. I used to follow him. And
mhm.
he once said, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly at first. And it's like, that
Yes.
is, yeah, it's like, if you can just do it a little bit, as small as you need to do it, like, then you can get better at it.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty with projects as well. Like, I don't want to share it with anyone until I'm like perfect with it, and that's not a good way to live. You kind of need to let yourself make mistakes and go through that road. So
Hmm.
I think definitely like we need to start small and simple with that. So for sure,
Yeah.
I agree.
And I do a monthly plan with me video, and at this point, my process is pretty well set, and I kind of have a good thing. I've usually got like 2 to 3 work goals, 2 to 3 personal goals, and
Yeah.
I always encourage people toward the end. Like, this has been one of the things that I feel like has really driven my life forward. And I always encourage people at the end, like, if you don't do anything like this, like if you don't do any like goal setting or planning and then reflection, start really small. Like, just try one thing that you can do this month and then see how it came out at the end of the month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, okay. So I think that's it for the first idea. Are we ready to move on to the second idea?
Yes. So my
Ooh,
second
okay.
idea is my favorite one. So I recommend creating a habit tracker. So first of all, a habit tracker can be in many different forms. It could be physical, digital. We're going to focus on the digital because this is kind of what this topic is about and this channel and all that. So, but you can do it in a journal, a printed document, habit tracking app. I've definitely used those before, and a digital planner or a notes app. So OneNote is a notes app. I'll be using that, but it's kind of like intertwined with the digital planner aspect of that. So we'll be focusing on that. And I'm going to show you my example here. So this is my example. This is the habit tracker I have. So as you can see, there's like green dots here and brown ones here. So the green ones are the habits that I did, and the brown ones are the ones I didn't do that day. And when it comes to human psychology, we tend to want to see as much green as possible. Am I right? So this kind of makes it into a challenge, kind of a game. Personally, for me, it has. I try to get as many greens as I can, so it definitely motivates me to do those habits, for sure. So that's my example here. And then also there's I would call like a habit tracking map style. It's this one here. I just made an example, and the good thing with this one is that you can add rewards on the way. So if, for example, you've done 7 days a row, you've done a habit for 7 days in a row, you can take a guilt-free nap, for example. That's my little things here. And then I kind of have a streak on if when it's more days, then it's a bigger reward. So my biggest reward is getting a manicure done, not doing it myself, but getting it done. So
Yeah, you do. We were. It might come up on another slide, but there was one where you had a reward that was a manicure I do myself, but then the bigger reward is when I go to the salon
exactly.
for. So that's kind of cool to have like different layers of rewards.
Yeah, I think it was in the ideas for rewards.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so um, I'll just quickly explain the planning habit map as well. So
Hmm.
each circle represents a day. On average, it takes about 66 days to form a habit. However, keep in mind that that is the average. So we're all different here. But 30 days is a good round number if you want round numbers, because you can definitely, you can make it bigger or smaller, but the smallest map I recommend is probably 7 days, so a week. And if you skip a day, you go back to square one. So that's the thing. You can't keep going and being like, oh yeah, I'll just no, you go back to square one. So that's the game. So it kind of reminds me of the travel around the world board games. It's kind of inspired by that. So
Yeah, and it
and
does make it feel like kind of a game. It's
yeah,
like you get you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then
yeah,
reward.
you collect rewards and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's I think you have to approach life like that in general.
Mm-hmm.
Treat it as a game. My oldest sister, she's pretty successful. She's the most successful one in our family, well considered. And the one quote that she's told me a lot of different things, but this one stuck, and it was just life is a game. That's all she told me. And back then I was like, yeah, whatever. But now it's stuck in my head every single day. That quote is stuck in my head. So that's kind of how I approach life now, and it definitely makes me, do more things and aim for more things, and little, chores and habits and all that. I approach like a game as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely you should do that. I think that's definitely a good tip, and um, keep in mind that the reward you choose shouldn't derail your goals or habits. So, for example, if you're focusing on a weight loss type habit and you finish the streak, don't pick a food reward like eat a whole cake or something, you know? So, there's many different ideas. I have a few ideas here, but um, many different ideas you can find online. For example, when we think of ideas and we're put on the spot, we kind of get frozen. So online is a really good place to find inspiration. The longer the habit streak, the bigger the reward. The shortest, yeah, like I mentioned, the shortest streak is 7 days. And yeah, so my example is if I do 10 minutes of Duolingo for 7 days, I reward myself with one episode of a series on Netflix. And definitely use this method as to develop a daily planning habit, as well as many other habits you want to form. So like I said, when you turn things into a game, it makes it a lot more fun. So you can definitely use this as a way to get your planning habit stuck in your head as a habit. So
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely a good tip. This is my favorite tip overall,
Yeah.
so it's helped
Yeah,
me
I
a
mean,
lot.
there's so much good stuff in here. Like, I love the idea of making a game out of it because you kind of get into that. It makes it a little bit more fun. And this
Yeah.
idea of gamifying things is, it's all over the place. Like
Mhm.
tons of apps use it. And
Yeah, Duolingo, for example, is so
yeah,
has helped me learn Spanish so much. You have no idea. No
I
idea.
I use Duolingo. I'm going to type that in the chat box. Duolingo is an app that helps you to learn a language. I am
Mm.
actually using it to learn German.
Oh,
Um,
German.
Yeah, well, because there's a Kurt Suzer who was on with me live a couple weeks ago presenting his planner. He
Mm.
runs a German language OneNote masterclass, and you can do
Ooh.
some translating with Google Translate. But I was like, if I can even read a little bit of German, I can kind of participate more in this community. So,
Yeah.
but Duolingo, it's like a perfect example because it kind of creates like little rewards for you. Like, you get like
Mhm.
the little characters and the little messages and the, trophies and crowns and things like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think
exactly.
that's really
I have
good. Go
I
ahead.
have a few friends in Duolingo as well because you can connect with your friends there, and it shows how many points they've made. For example, I have a friend learning Spanish, and I always try to compete with her. So that's another fun way they kind of make you learn Spanish more or learn a language more. So I think that's a really
Yeah.
good example for sure.
Yeah, they have a leaderboard, and every once in a while I
Mhm.
get pinged saying, "Hey, you're slipping down on the leaderboard." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't like
Yeah.
that." Yeah. And I'm not a competitive person at all, but something about this whole gamify thing really just
Mhm.
works. And the other thing that you said that I liked was to, make sure you have a list of rewards that you like and use Google if you need to, but
Yeah.
set the rewards up ahead of time because I find one of my challenges is that when I get to that 7-day mark, it's like, woohoo, I'm due for a reward.
Mhm.
Well, what do I really want?
I
I
don't
don't know.
wanna.
Yeah.
Exactly.
hmm And then the other thing I really liked about this is that you touch on this whole idea of reward psychology. Like there's a whole branch of
Mhm.
psychology around rewards and that kind of thing. Using the red and green is really good. Some people might like to see a filled in worksheet, like, if they do like a page of graph paper and they fill in each square. The board game,
Yeah.
the destination is good. The idea is if you understand what motivates you, you can use that to, help maintain good habits and progress toward bigger goals.
Exactly. There's a book called The Power of Habit. I honestly don't remember who the author was, but there's many different books. I think that's the most popular one, but it does focus on the fact that there's a cue and then there's a reward. And it's the same with bad habits. You work on a shift in your office, and then during lunch break, as soon as you get to the cafeteria, you suddenly have a queue to buy a cookie. You do it one time and you're like, oh, this is just one time. And then you do the second time, and now it ingrains in your head, right? So whenever you walk into the cafeteria, your brain is suddenly like, I need a cookie. So
Mhm.
I think this is the same. So it's definitely the same psychology here. So definitely use it to your advantage to create good habits and understand how the psychology works so you can break your bad ones.
Mhm. Yeah, and this wasn't really part of the planned presentation, but I feel like this is really good uh
Yeah,
stuff. I think James Clear is the author, and he wrote a book called Atomic Habits. And I
I
have
read
not,
that one. I love
yeah,
that one. It actually tells you what to do.
yeah, and
It's really good.
one of his principles is to remove friction between the things that you should be doing
Yeah.
and create friction between the things you shouldn't be doing. Like, so if you
Mhm.
want to work out every morning, have your workout clothes just like right there ready for you to grab. Like if you've got to go
Yeah,
into a dark closet and find things and all that, you're less likely to do your workout. And then
exactly.
yeah, so make it really frictionless. And then if you're trying to cut down on the number of cookies you eat, you could put those, in a container with a seal and then put them in a bag and then put them up on a top shelf so that you have to
Mhm.
go get a step ladder and all that. And it's not saying you can't have them. It's just by the time you go through all those steps,
You
you're
kinda
going to
like
think about it more. So,
yeah, exactly. It's not as automatic, for sure.
yeah. So, I think we're ready to move on to the third idea.
Yes, indeedy. So,
Okay.
the next one is setting reminders for yourself. So, reminders to plan in the morning or before bed, whichever you choose. If you're the kind of person who prefers to plan the night before for the next day tomorrow, or you're the one who does it in the morning. So it completely depends on what kind of person you are. Sometimes when we haven't formed a habit yet, it's not that it's hard to do, we just genuinely forget to do it. I think we're all guilty of this here. It's totally normal because we have so many things going on in our head. So a reminder is definitely a good way to just give your brain like, oh yeah, I have to do this. Especially in the morning, you're tired and you don't really know what you're doing, and you're just kind of, But when you have a set alarms or reminders or a checklist, anything that reminds you, that's a really good way to get into the habit of it, and then you won't even think about it later. So there's different ways you can do it. So for example, Google Calendar, it has a reminders option. I love using that one, but make sure your notifications are on for Google Calendar on your phone, for example, because I know for me, I turn off notifications for everything, especially social media. So I actually, my notifications weren't coming through on Google Calendar for a while, and then I realized that I just had them off in the settings. So definitely make sure that's on. And you can also set the reminder to repeat daily for the same time, which I absolutely love. You can do the same with your phone alarm, as I mentioned here, but I don't know. Because for some reason, I prefer the Google Calendar reminder more than the phone alarm, personally. There's also a option of a sticky note. So make sure you place it on a plate. Make sure you stick it on a place where you wake up or you go to bed. If you're going to the bathroom to brush your teeth, you can stick it on your mirror, for example. So this is another really good tip that I recommend doing for sure, because you don't have to think about it as much, because you're using technology or piece of paper to do the work for you, or kind of be your manager and be like, okay, you have to do this, So
Yeah, I love that. We have all this technology, and I think that's one of the
mm,
best ways to use it, which is to take the burden off of your brain for something that the technology can do. Like your brain doesn't, that's why your brain doesn't have to remember to do these things. The technology just cues you to do it. And I think
exactly.
that's a really good use of technology.
Hmm.
Um, there's a book, I think you're a getting things done person, right?
Yes, for
Yes,
sure.
okay, right. I
Mm.
thought we had talked about that. But,
Yeah.
one of the things David Allen, he wrote the book and productivity system called Getting Things Done,
Right,
and
I've read
he
that
has
one too.
it's what?
Oh, I just realized I'm so proud of myself. Read so many books recently.
Ah,
Yay.
um, he has an idea that your brain is for having ideas, not holding them. And so
Exactly.
the more you can take the burden off your brain of like holding these minutia and these things that can be served by an alarm, um, the more you're going to free up your brain's power to do really good things. So I
And
think,
be
having
creative
a,
and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Hmm.
with, whether it's a Google Calendar or any of these reminders you mentioned, you can say what it is you're doing. Like, if you get up, at say whatever 7 o'clock, and at 7:30 you want to plan your day, you can just have
Hmm.
a little slot in your calendar that says plan day, and then the alarm goes off and it says your time slot for planning your day is coming up. And so not only does the alarm go off, but it tells you what to do, and there's a time slot in your calendar for it. So that's just awesome. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I definitely live my life by this, taking the advantage of the technology that we have today to kind of be my own manager or person who's gonna basically, technology is babysitting me when it comes to day-to-day tasks, so I can focus on being more creative with the things I do. And I this is mainly what my channel focuses on, so you can actually reach the goals or the things you want to do with the help of technology. And planning is definitely such a huge aspect of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Such a huge aspect. So that's why I just wish I wish everyone planned, honestly, but you just kind of have to have the for yourself.
Yeah, to each
Yeah.
their own. And
Exactly.
I also think that, life has gotten more complicated. Like we have things to make decisions about that didn't even exist a few hundred years ago. So it's like, and granted, life has gotten easier in certain ways. Like they didn't have
Yeah.
fully stocked supermarkets a couple hundred years ago. But like we have to do things like, if you have any sort of a savings or investment or retirement account, you have to like put time into like managing that, learning about that stuff, and that's just that's fairly new. So I do think that there's like some complexity to life. That is really, I like, we can use this external support to help us manage some of the, the complexity and the vast array of things we have to take care of.
Exactly. We have so many options. So we have Google Assistant, Siri, we have OneNote, we have Google Calendar, your phone, the thing we use for, it can either make our life just more destructive or help us more. If you're an addiction to social media, that can really mess you up sometimes. Or you can use your phone for the greater good and help yourself with navigating life. So I definitely agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
So important, I feel like.
Yeah. And I like that last thing you touched on, is that like, so the phone's a neutral object. And it
Exactly.
can either really harm your life. It can make your life have less quality, or it can make your life have a lot more quality. So that's a really
Yeah, so
a
it
nugget of
definitely
gold there.
depends on what you do with your phone. So
Right.
you have the control, but you have to choose to have that control of, you know, um, shutting off your notifications. And there's so many things that want our attention, but you just have to, be proactive to, prioritize what you see as actually important. And I
Hmm.
think the phone is definitely a good example of that.
Um, yeah. Okay. So I think we're about ready for your final idea.
Hmm.
All right, let's do it. This is a good one. I mean, they're all
Oh
good,
yeah.
but I'm
Well,
excited for
yeah.
this one.
This is like very like heavy stuff in a good way. It's
Yeah.
really good stuff. So, um, it's how to plan for the day when you have an overwhelming amount of tasks. So this has helped me so much in my life when it comes to. Do you just look at your task list sometimes and you're like, oh my god, I can't do this, and you just end up procrastinating, and it's just like a whole thing. So I would consider this like the advanced method. So when you're pretty much comfortable with your, simple to do lists, you can go like more with this. So um, what we do, what we're gonna do here is brain dump tasks on a to-do list and get it all out of your head. And not only your head, I probably have I have so many different notes apps on my phone that I quickly write things on, or even OneNote or my Google Calendar or anything. Or Trello even. I get it all in one place and in my head as well. Or anything my partner says that we have to do for, I don't know, vaccinating the cat or something, I just quickly write on the brain dump. So you have it all together, and then the next thing to do is prioritizing them. So you prioritize your tasks with the time management matrix. So this is this big boy here. So this method is from the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Um, when I read it, I thought that was like, oh my god, I need to try this out, and I did, and wow, and I have, I don't know, you feel like you have more control in your life. So I'm just going to explain each box here quickly. So we have the important plus the urgent box. So this is things with clear deadlines and consequences for not taking immediate action. So this is things that if you don't do them, you're going to be pretty much in a crisis or more stressed out. It's pressing problems. They're deadline-driven projects, and the way to think of it is when you look at the task and you're thinking, okay, if this is not done, you will feel stressed and burned out and feeling out of control. So those are the tasks that go in that box. The next
I
one.
wanted to ask a question. Would you consider like tasks with a financial penalty to go in that deadline?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
for sure. So I definitely, yeah,
Okay.
definitely add that. So the next thing is important, but not urgent tasks. So tasks with no set deadlines that bring you closer to your goals, and they're pretty easy to procrastinate on. So there are things that are relationship building, ways to find new opportunities, long-term planning for project or your life. There are preventative activities, personal growth. And the way you can think of it is if they're done, you feel you have control, you have a long-term perspective of things, and stronger relationships. So I would add, for example, dates with your husband or partner here, for example. Some people put them on not important, not urgent. No, don't do that. Anything that's
Yeah.
relationship building with your friends or self-growth, I would put here. Or long-term planning for your business or job or anything.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is not important but urgent. So tasks that need to be done, but they don't require a specific skill. So if you're, for example, you have a personal assistant or anything like that, you can basically give those tasks to them. You can think of it that way. So they're interruptions, emails, calls, meetings, chores, and errands. And if they're not done, progress is delayed and deadlines are jeopardized. So this is definitely, yeah, like housework and grocery shopping and things like that. Then the next thing is not important and not urgent. So these are distractions, can be fine, but only in moderation. So time wasters, pleasant activities, and if they're not done, not getting ahead at all makes you feel worse. So that's, for example, scrolling on social media or watching your favorite series on Netflix, and you end up binging it all day, and you have not done your important and urgent tasks. So that's why I mean, like, only in moderation. I have a personal tip for this one. I use the not important, not urgent tasks as rewards. So, like I mentioned, the habit tracking map before, you can actually find inspiration here for your rewards, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah,
because
that's a
they're
great
very
tip.
similar. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I recommend. Now, there's a few
And
pointers here.
before you move on, I
Sorry.
wanted to just point out something that I really like that you said is when you do your brain dump, it's
Mm,
not just the things in your head. You mentioned all these other sources, and I put this in the
yeah.
chat box. And I had never heard that before. Like usually when people talk about a brain dump, they're like,
In
sit
your head.
down, if it's say with pen and paper or whatever, to write or
Mhm.
type, everything in your head and just keep going. And then there's even like, what do you call it? Like, cues, like who haven't you talked to or things like that. But this I think is really good because you're gathering like not only the stuff in your brain, but all these other places that they might be hiding as well. So I thought that
Yeah.
was a really good part. So go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's because personally when I sit down and I'm like, okay, I have to put all of this in from my head and onto my OneNote sheet, I kind of freeze. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't think of anything right now. So that's a really good way to like make the wheel start going, and then you start having more ideas in your head as well.
Hmm.
So that's a really good way to do it.
And if you're pretty good at writing things down and using apps and using, whatever capture methods, as we call them, and getting
Mm,
things done, you might not have a lot of stuff floating around in your head.
yeah,
So it's
exactly.
good to go to these other sources and just pull things in.
Yeah, no, I have definitely have that this one lately. Like my brain dump section isn't um like full enough, and I'm like, what's going on? And am I not remembering things? And I just realized I have like them
Oh,
pretty neatly organized, and
yeah.
um yeah, so
You
don't
froze for a
see
second.
that as
Can
a
you just repeat that?
sorry.
You
Oh
froze
yeah.
right after you said my,
Where was
yeah,
I?
you said, I think you were saying, when I do my brain dump, my head's kind of empty and then I think you were
Oh
gonna,
yeah, yeah, no.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when I'm doing my brain dump, I can't really think of anything because I kind of freeze.
Mhm.
So it's a really good way to keep, start get the ball rolling, and because you start writing things down from other sources, and then
Mhm.
some in your head you start having like ideas pop slowly into your
Yeah.
head, and so that's a really good way to basically start your process of a brain dump.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna quickly go over these as well. So you break down bigger time-consuming tasks that require lots of steps from the important urgent section into smaller tasks. because usually the urgent and important things are kind of like, you most of the time you don't really want to do them because they're really like intense, or they're big projects. So to encourage yourself to do them more and see that it's actually pretty easy, and if you break them down into smaller tasks, you can kind of like check them off, so you feel like you're getting a little reward every time. So that's what I recommend doing with those important, urgent tasks that are quite big. And then what I do is schedule important and not urgent tasks into your calendar for today, this week, or this month. And then delegate tasks from not important plus urgent, or schedule them in your calendar for yourself. And lastly, use not important and not urgent tasks as rewards, like I mentioned earlier, for reaching a certain goal or completing a habit streak or finishing a big project. So I would definitely use those as rewards only. And remember, moderation, very important.
Yeah. Yeah, like 1 or 2 episodes of your favorite show, not the whole series.
Yeah, not the whole series, honey, not the whole series.
I wanted to know if for the first one, it says break down bigger time-consuming tasks that require a lot of steps into smaller tasks. If you have an example of that, if you don't, I do. But like, I wanted to see if you could just give us a little example of how that might work.
Yeah. I'm going to take it from my personal life that I do a lot. For example, editing videos for my YouTube channel. I have a Trello board for that, and it's a whole checklist. So, you have the editing, and I've broken it down to, for example, collecting the A-roll and B-roll or organizing them in files, then trimming the clips, then color correction, then adding the music, then adding the B-roll, and then on and on and on. And then saving it, and then when it comes to publishing as well, I have a whole thing. So it's very time consuming. I think editing takes definitely like 6 to 10 hours or even more, 2 days. So if I didn't have that checklist, oh my God, I would be so unorganized. Plus you kind of see like where you're at, you see your progress, and you see like, oh, the end is near, in a good way. It's like, I'm almost there, I'm almost done with it. So that's my personal example from my life.
Yeah, and I think that is such a good example because none of those things by themselves are too bad or too complicated. But there's if you doing them in the right order, which you're going to learn over time, and once you learn that, that's like a great thing. And so you can put them in the right order and do them in the right order, and then you can, by breaking them down, you could do like maybe 2 or 3 tonight, another 2 tomorrow, and then so you don't have to feel like you need one full day, which whoever has a full day to do one thing, you can break it down and it's not overwhelming. So I think that's a great example.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm just gonna add my personal experience as well. Like, for example, if on your to-do list it says edit video, and you did half of it, but technically you didn't finish it, so you can't cross it off. So that's, to me, it kind of discourages you. You know what I mean? So you're kind of like, I didn't do anything, even though you did like 5 hours of work. So
can anybody see like why this is like we're like brain connected here.
Yeah, exactly.
Reusable checklists are like literally one of my favorite things to do in OneNote. It's like once you do something, I try and create a checklist the first time. The second time I do it, I use the checklist to modify it. But then you get this perfect checklist. And you're right. Like, you can instead of putting edit video, which if you see that and it's 6 to 10 hours, it's so overwhelming. But if you see, organize A and B roll into folders.
Well, that's easy. I can do that.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So it makes such a difference. And then it also, it drives the project forward. Instead of having edit video on Monday, didn't do it. Edit video on Tuesday, edit, and you keep repeating it as if you do like a little bit Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, by Friday, you have a video.
Exactly. Yeah. No, this is literally that's my personal, that used to be my life. Yeah. It was so bad. So bad. So
and We do have one question, but I want to just kind of do the same thing with your next point, which was schedule important and not urgent tasks on your calendar. And can you scroll back up because that box isn't on your screen right now?
Yeah.
So do you have an example for that one of scheduling one of these on your calendar?
Sorry, which one? Sorry.
Oh, important and not urgent. You said
Scheduling them.
Yeah, well, you said that that's
Yeah.
what one thing you do with those, schedule those on your calendar.
Yeah. So it really depends on, for example, if they were the important and not urgent one, because I want to make that clear, because I'm gonna give examples and I don't want to give the wrong box. Was it this one?
Yeah, like I think what your thing down here, yeah, it said
Oh yeah,
schedule
important,
important
not
and not
urgent.
urgent in your calendar. So I just wanted to see
Yeah.
if you had an example for that.
So, for example, my partner and I haven't gone in for a dinner date in a really long time, and I have the idea to go to a certain place. And this is an example because I'm using another person to kind of have an idea of when to schedule it. I go to them and then I ask them like, "Oh, when do you want to do this?" and blah blah blah. That's one idea. Then also, if it's something that's personal development related, I kind of look at my day, or I kind of look at my week, and I see how much important and not or important and urgent tasks. Because you have a few days where you have a lot of important and urgent tasks that you need to do. Um, I kind of stay away from those days, and like pick a day where I'm pretty much free from important and urgent tasks because those are done, and then I can focus on my long-term vision or anything to do with either my channel or anything in my personal life. So um, it's definitely more of a, you have to see your calendar visually and focus on the important and urgent tasks more. And if you definitely need to avoid those days that you have all of those important and urgent tasks. You have a heavy amount of them. Like if I have 3 days straight of editing, I'm definitely gonna avoid kind of those days on focusing on my personal growth, because you need to be on a specific mindset to kind of have like a creative vision for something specific that you want to do. So it definitely depends on what your calendar looks like, but that's how I do it mainly.
Yeah, there was a couple of good tips in there. One is like to look for space, not only in terms of like calendar space, but when you don't have a lot of brain work. Like you don't want to try and,
Yeah,
do like big vision planning for your life after you've had a really hard day of work. You want to
exactly.
kind of, yeah. So not only do you need
Mhm.
the hours, the time, but you need the brain power. You need to be fresh and
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pause here for a question, and I apologize if I don't have your name right, but I think it's Hannah. Hannah.
Hannah,
Hannah.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Hannah. Yep.
She said came in a little late, but Anna, the things you said about the brain dump, do you use different kinds of apps for that?
Um, Not really. I kind of just use. Oh, do you mean like where I'm getting my ideas from, or where I'm brain dumping?
Um, well, this was the question reads, the things you said about the brain dump, do you use different kind of apps for that and joggle between them? So maybe both. I think we kind of covered this,
I
but
can
you came in
I
late.
can do both. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can mention both. So when it comes to where I get my ideas from, for example, so first of all, my head. Second of all, Trello projects.
Mhm.
So for any big project I have, like YouTube, social media, or anything, I have like another business that I'm doing, and everything has a Trello board, and everything has like small tasks everywhere. So I look at those. I get ideas from that. Then I also have a Google Notes app in my phone. And the reason why that is because it has a little widget that you can put on your home screen. And it shows like all like the different notes on your home screen. Like so straight when I wake up, I can look at my phone on the home screen and I can see what tasks I have. So that's where I put things that suddenly come into my head and I quickly want to write it down because my phone is always with me. So that's another place where I get them. Then I also look at my calendar, so my planner and my OneNote planner. If if there's something on the calendar that I've kind of ignored, even though it's written down there, I'm gonna add that as well. So that's where I get my ideas. I think there's a few more, but yeah, no. Oh yeah, and I also have a page for constant to-dos. So that's anything like chores or getting my cat to the vet to clip her nails, things like that, things that I constantly do. Those
Yeah.
written down there. That's where I get my ideas. So I look at that and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do this week to, clean my house? Because, sometimes we just forget that our mirrors are dirty and we haven't done them in weeks. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's where I get my ideas. And the second part, what was the
So that's kind
yeah,
of all of your sources, like that's all the
yeah.
places you might have things stashed. And we kind of talked about that before, but the idea,
Mm,
whatever each individual, like whatever, whatever places I use, like it might not be Trello, but I use like a to-do app and I have my OneNote and I
mhm.
have different places. So you want to, the point is make sure wherever you stash things that you go and check
Other
them.
pieces of
But
paper.
I think
Mm.
Hannah's question was where you actually collect the brain dump.
OneNote, for
Yeah.
sure. I have a
And
page for
oh,
that.
this is a OneNote themed show, so it would typically be
Yeah.
OneNote, but that doesn't mean the other things work
No,
well
yeah.
too. So
But I still so many different apps that I've tried, I still prefer OneNote when it comes to brain dumping because OneNote has so much creative freedom, if you know what I mean. Like the
hmm
drawing aspect and adding the pictures and making tables and things like that. For example, you can't really do that in Trello. Not at all, actually. No.
yeah.
So OneNote, definitely use OneNote for that, and you can copy and paste the things. I can show that later if you want. So.
Yeah, we're actually gonna, if you stick around, we're gonna show that, like, what
Mhm.
when we're talking about kind of collecting the brain dump, and then after you collect everything, this matrix is a criteria for organizing them, and then I think that'll lead us nicely into our next section.
Oh yeah, it's a really good transition actually.
Yeah.
So, shall I move on?
Oh, well, okay. So we're kind of like
Or
we're
yeah.
talking about doing it in OneNote, and then once you have them written down, the important thing is to like do something with them. Like if you just
Yeah.
write them down, like I feel like so many like articles and stuff on brain dumping, it's like they do an elaborate thing on how to get all these things out of your head and collected, and then it's like,
Mhm.
okay, see you, have a great day, and that's just the
Pretty much,
sort
yeah.
of, yeah, that's like that doesn't do
Yeah.
anything for you. You have to actually take each of those things and do something with it, like process them, and I think that's what you're going to show next, like what that
Yes,
processing step looks like.
exactly. So, I'm going to demonstrate what the process looks like with a few tasks. So, this is my sheet. As you can tell, it's all pretty in pink, you know how I like it. So,
Yeah.
um, this section here, you see the emptiness here, I keep it empty because that's where I just write everything down. So we'll take a few examples here. So um, let's say these tasks are in my head. Um, Organize kitchen drawers. I usually use a drawing tablet for this, but um, not today. But I
Mhm.
usually do because I know not everyone has a drawing tablet. I know, but you can still type or you can use your phone with a stylus. You can still do that. Then I
Uh,
have a
hold
hair
on one
point.
second. Could you make the text a little bit bigger on
Oh
what you're
yeah,
typing? Thank you.
oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe a
I'm
bit,
gonna do it.
much bigger.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it separately so then I can move them around separately.
Right.
Is this okay?
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh, it's
all
not
right.
quite.
Is it not?
Yeah, I go.
I
Yeah.
hold and 26. Does that?
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, cool. Then I'm gonna quickly write them down, and then I'll make them bigger. Now, so the first thing we have is organizing kitchen drawers. Then the second one is emailing Becky. Becky can be a colleague, for example. Then there's a hair appointment that I have. And then I also need to buy a few loungewear pieces because it's getting cold here in Ireland, and I need proper clothes.
Yeah.
I need like thicker clothes. So I have all of these here, and since I've now written it down, obviously you'll have a lot more tasks than this, but this is just an example. You can see I have the time management matrix here, all of the sections, and you're going to look at all of your tasks and you're going to move them to whatever category it needs to be. So, for example, organizing kitchen drawers, that's a chore or more like a housework kind of thing. Cleaning, I would put that as not important, urgent. Then I have a hair appointment. This is, I added another thing here, another box called scheduled. So I add this here, and then I usually add the time and date as well. Then email Becky. Becky is, for example, my work colleague, and I need to email her regarding a work thing, and it's because of a project. And for me, that is important and urgent. And then ordering loungewear online, that's more of a very pleasant task. I don't really need to do it. Like technically, I have thicker clothes that I can use, but online shopping is very fun. And for me, for example, well, personally, so I would put that as not important and not urgent because I see that as something I can use as a reward for completing something. So that's how the matrix is used. And then now I move on here, I have a week at a glance table. So this is the exact table that I have for my weekly sheet on my digital planner in OneNote. So if anything needs to be done the upcoming week, I have to drag it to the week at a glance. I usually do my brain dumps on Sundays. You can do it any day you want. You can do it as often as you like. I just do it weekly personally, so I can prepare for the next week. And it kind of refreshes my brain for the upcoming week. So, for example, emailing Becky, it's important and urgent, so I'm going to do that on Monday. I'm going to drag it here. Then organizing kitchen drawers, it's urgent, but it's not important. I can ask my partner to do it, but I know he won't, so I have to do it myself. So I would add that to, for example, Thursday, because maybe like I might have my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday very work heavy stuff, so I can't really focus on doing chores, or I can do all of my work or all of my housework on Thursday. So I'm just going to collect them all there, for example. And then hair appointment, let's say it's on a Friday at 6. So I'm just going to add 6 p.m. and it's on Friday. I'm just going to drag it here. And usually I highlight it in red as well. So it's like very bold and I can see it. Like, oh, I have it. And I will have it scheduled on my Google Calendar as well. And it'll give me a notification like, oh, your hair appointment is in 1 hour. For example. So there's many different ways. And the order loungewear online, I don't really put it anywhere. You can make a specific section somewhere where you can put rewards, or when you have your habit tracking map, you can copy and paste it to your sheet where you have the habit tracking map. So, for example, if you've done 8 hours of work on a Monday, you can reward yourself with shopping online. That's how I do it personally with my brain dump sheet here.
Yeah, and there was so much good stuff in this. I mean, I just love the whole idea of taking it from like this messy collection of things. Some are big, some are small, some are appointments and stuff like that. And then it goes into the matrix. And then once it's in the matrix, you have a sense of what is, the urgent and important, versus not urgent, not important, etc. And then you can start to really, you can see how, well, this isn't that important. I can use that as a reward and that kind of thing. And like, I feel like that my head would just be so clear after doing this. Like, it's like you get all these things out, and then the ones that are really need to get done are scheduled. Like they're actually like on your calendar.
Yeah. so you won't put them
Yeah.
aside actually.
Right.
So you
Right.
I'm guilty. Like I have, for example, emailing Becky and organizing kitchen drawers on the same day, and I haven't prioritized them. And I end up organizing my kitchen drawers for 6 hours straight, and ending up doing my whole kitchen, and I still haven't emailed Becky. Then I'm just gonna know Becky's not a real person.
Right.
No.
And I think that's a really easy trap to fall into,
Oh yes.
because when you're organizing your kitchen drawers, you get like that immediate reward. It feels clean, it
Mhm.
looks nice, and oh, look at me, I'm getting things done. In the
Yeah,
meantime, the thing that's really important for your job but unpleasant doesn't get done. Like, who wants to do
yeah,
an email? That's not fun. Not
yeah.
that cleaning is necessarily fun, but it's definitely gives you that reward.
Well, once you get into that, groove, you're kinda
It
like,
can
okay."
be.
Yeah,
Um, and it's like that, productive procrastination. It's like you're
exactly.
getting something done. It's just not the thing you need to do.
Mhm.
And if you've ever, well, I know you have, but for people that are not familiar with the book and productivity system, getting things done, um, there's the first two steps of that system is collect and then process. And so that's kind of what
Yeah.
Anna has just done here, which is, the initial brain dump, or I also call it a brain download too. I like that term.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a, more posh way of putting it, I would say. Because
yeah,
dump would be like there's so many different words you can use, so
yeah.
it's the same thing.
I like brain download because I feel like it highlights the value of the content. Like, the dump is where we take trash in the US. So it's sort of like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Brain
I
bin.
yeah, but whatever. It just it in terms of the getting things done framework, you just showed the collection and then how you process them. And
Mm,
there are other ways you could process it too. I think this is really good because it starts with getting your hands around the priority and the time frame of things before you think about scheduling them, because I think if you skip the matrix, it would
yeah,
be really easy to just say, oh, well, I'm going to put this on Monday and that on Tuesday and stuff, without really ever like, if
thinking about it.
Becky's a work thing, that really needs to happen early in the week. Organizing the kitchen drawers, if that doesn't happen for 1 or 2 weeks, that's fine.
Mhm, exactly.
So yeah, I think this was a great framework. So hi, Albert. So Albert says, thanks for these tips and ideas. You're
Oh,
welcome.
you're welcome, and thank you.
So let me see where we're at here. Oh, you had two other tips for us, right?
Yes, so if we have extra time, we can totally delve into those 2 little tips there.
Yeah, we just have two little tips and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Alright, so my 2 bonus tips is when it comes to having a thorough planning ritual that requires a lot of steps, create a checklist for yourself for each step because it makes it easier for you to stick to the habit. So if you have a morning routine or planning ritual where you're like, okay, I need to, yeah, it's either like, oh, I'm gonna set my priorities for the day, or I'm gonna journal. I have a checklist for my morning because then I don't have to use my brain to think about what am I gonna do next. Especially if it's a lot of things. And you're either have a physical planner or a digital planner with sections pre-done, so you know what steps to take to manage your tasks for the day. That's why I love digital planning so much. You can make a sheet or a table or a planner ahead of time, just one time, and you can just copy and paste it for every single day. And this is my
Mhm.
example. This is one I use personally. So I have my morning ritual here. I don't even have to think about it. I can just cross things off. Night ritual, cross things off. I can pick, or I can write my today's accomplishment at the end of the day, rate my day. Then you separate life and work. If you have school as well, you can add school. And then priorities. If you don't really have this, you will not, you will, end up organizing your kitchen drawers instead of emailing Becky.
Right.
So that's mainly for that as well. And if you like time blocking, then I have a section here as well.
Mhm.
So that's just a quick bonus there.
And I
Before
like that you have a notes section too. I have that as well on my daily page.
yeah.
And that's just, I consider that like a drop zone. Like anything that comes in, like we're online,
Mhm.
I'm online like so much. So I might see like, oh, that book looks interesting. And it's so
Yeah.
easy for me to get distracted. And let me go to Amazon and see if I should buy that. And should I buy it now or put it on the list? And
Yeah.
before you know it, you're down a rabbit hole. And so instead of doing that, I just put it in that notes section and then I can
Exactly.
process it later.
Or for example, you're doing work and you suddenly have an idea in your head. Like you said, like, oh, I should search this on Amazon. Just write it down, and because I know it has happened to me a lot. I'm editing, and I'm like, oh, something, and I start doing that instead because I'm scared that I'll forget later. So the notes section is great for that. Or if you're in the middle of planning your life and work tasks and you have another task that you suddenly thought of, you just write here. And then later you can move it to your brain dump sheet. It's amazing because OneNote has a copy and paste option. It's just, you can add links and it's amazing. It's so good for that.
Yeah,
Sure.
I totally agree. And again, can you see, like, Anna and I are like, this same brain, because I do the same exact thing, and it does really save distractions, because instead of having that one little idea, it's become a distraction. It's just like you write it down, it's taken care of, you're not going to forget it, you're going to find it again, you're going to come back to it, and then you get right back to what you're doing. So to me, that's been, just a lifesaver. And I want to just give a shout out. Like, if you like this style of page, Anna has tutorials for these on her channel. Like, she will actually walk you through how to make these. And if you make it yourself, you can customize it. Like, you mentioned adding a sheet for, like, if you're in school, you could do that as well.
Yeah, exactly. The main thing I want to point out is, I know there's a lot of digital planning videos, but when it comes to mine, I kind of love focusing on the minimalistic part of it as well, and not go overboard and crazy with all stickers and stuff. If you personally like that, that's totally fine, but some people don't. And I've noticed that if you plan on paper, you spend so much time making your sheet or your page pretty, and you end up spending so much time on that. And to me, that just, I couldn't do it. I can't spend an hour or 2 hours just making my sheet pretty. So you make it pretty once. I like to focus on that, making things pretty, but so it's time efficient as well.
Yeah.
It's still nice to look at.
Yeah, and you have two images at the bottom. They could be swapped out, so it's like super easy. You can change colors and whatnot.
Yeah.
The other thing that I didn't like about paper is, like, I write a lot down, and it just took too long. Like, it just took me so long to, like, if maintaining your planning system takes a long time, like I don't want to spend time doing that. So
you end up not doing anything in the first place because you're planning. Planning for it.
Right.
Crazy.
So I had just two other comments, and then we're going to check the chat and wrap up. The first of the final two tips was having, like, a planning ritual or checklist, and I actually do that. Yeah, I know. Again, like, we're like this,
I know, right?
Yeah. Because I want to make sure that I've checked all the different places. Like, I check what's scheduled on my calendar, and then I have, like, a to-do list app that I check that. And, like, just different, all the little places and odds and ends I need to check. And yeah, I like doing that because it makes it really, like, instead of being overwhelmed, it's simple. It's just like, boom, one, do this, do that, do the other thing. And I also know it gives me the peace of mind of knowing I didn't forget anything. And then the other thing about creating a pre-made planner page, whether it's paper or digital, is, and I noticed this when I did use paper planners, is that every year when I searched for my planner, I would try and find one, and they were never exactly what I needed. And there'd always be, there's something missing or something I didn't need.
You have to
and
write
the
it
thing
again.
is, yeah, and the planner can shape the way you think. Like, if we look at your page, you have, I think you called it a daily win. Today's accomplishments. Yeah. And that's going to shape the way you think. Like, knowing that you have to fill that box in, you're going to be looking for that throughout the day, or at least at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You're going to look for that. So it's shaping the way you think, which I think is a great thing. And it's like something you can do. It's like a really easy way to use this tool to change the way you think. And then same with your top three. Like, if you start your day thinking of those, it's changing the way you think and forcing you to focus on those top three. So that was my other thing about, just creating your own, is that you can create one that shapes your thinking in the way you want to be thinking.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So we have a couple comments. Steven says, organizing paper notes is impossible. Digital is so much better. Yes, Steven.
Right?
Yes.
Steven, you got it right.
And then Hannah says, exactly, Steven. So Okay. Robert says, have you checked out Carl Pullian lately? His time sector methodology will replace David Allen GTD in 2020 and beyond. I have not. Thank you for the
Ooh,
heads up. That sounds
I could check that
fascinating.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
Carl, it's Pullein, Pullian. So thank you, Robert, for the tip. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
write
I
that
love
down.
learning new things, so this is
Me
definitely.
too. Oh my gosh. Um, that's actually one of my rewards I use because I love to learn things.
I know reading. Oh my God, using Kindle and falling into
Mhm.
it, but I love it.
So, okay. So I think, wow. And you really, what you wrote there, Robert, really has me intrigued. Like if you're talking about replacing David Allen, that's,
Yeah, that's a you know
that's a tall
that's
order.
yeah, exactly. Very
Okay.
brave
So,
to say that. I love that.
we are going to head into our wrap up section. If you do have any final comments, anything you want to mention, or something you took away from this, um, we are going to wrap it up. So you can go ahead and type any final comments in the chat box. And while you're doing that, you can tell us, Anna, how do you want people to connect with you? How can they find you online?
Yes, so I mainly make YouTube videos, so that's probably where you can reach me the
Mm-hmm.
most. So my YouTube channel is called An.yusha. It's basically a Russian nickname that my sister got me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I picked it. But it'll be linked in the description box below, right? Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
and also I have an Instagram, so I also share like inspirational things there, and you'll be notified whenever I post a video and all that
Yeah.
different things on my life. So, um, that's An.yusha, but the AN and then there's a dot there, but in between, and that'll be in the description box as well. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I said, I mainly do planning and life organization videos. So they're like very kind of more like also aesthetic focused and you know using planning to reach whatever goal you have. Like that's the main purpose. We want to become better people and do so much more that we thought we could. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the main focus I have.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm totally in sync. Although my planners are way plainer than this. Mine are just plain text and lists, which is,
Yeah,
fine as well. But
yeah.
I agree with you there that like so much of the time, like, there's like that, just whole Instagram aesthetic of,
Oh
just these
yeah.
beautiful places. And that's totally cool if you like
It's
that.
nice to look at. It's nice
Yeah,
to
I
look
just don't
at.
really enjoy that. I want my planner
Mhm.
to serve me in having a good life. I don't really want necessarily to have a beautiful planner behind.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, so we have a few final comments.
Hmm.
So, okay. I'm going to try and pronounce this. I'm sorry if I don't say it. Sabarish wants to know how to crop a picture in OneNote. I can answer that, or if you know the answer to that.
Yeah, you can answer that. I don't
Okay.
really.
Well, there's the answer is that you have to use a different app. There's not really a way to do it in
Yeah.
OneNote.
Hmm.
You do if you right click on an image, you have a picture menu, and there are certain things you can do. You can rotate it, resize it, move it around, but you can't crop it in OneNote, unfortunately. One
Yeah.
thing I will say is like when I do have images or pictures or any like even things I've created, I save them on a page so that I can recopy them
Mhm.
and use them again.
Yeah.
So Stephen says, thank you both for putting this together. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for
Thank
being here to
you.
the end.
Thank you.
We've been here an hour and 7 minutes. Like we were going to do like 40 minutes, but
Yeah.
um, and then Robert says this is going back to Carl Pullian. If you watch Carl's YouTube channel, you'll see what I mean. Also check out his blogs and podcasts. You'll see what I mean. Okay, Robert, I
So
am going to take you up on that. I think I
yeah,
might
I'm
do that
gonna do
even while I'm
that
eating lunch today.
too. With my evening, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, as I mentioned, links to reach Anna will be in the description of this video, and I really do encourage you to check out her channel. She has just really good videos on just all the things she mentioned, like planning and life
Oh,
management,
thank you.
organization, goal setting, and some more aesthetic content than I have.
Thank you so much.
So I think we are I'm going to do one final check of the chat. That's it. So if you like today's chat, I do this every month with a different guest on a OneNote focused topic. And so please do hit the subscribe button. You'll be notified of future Take Note chats as well as other videos and live streams that I do. And as a subscriber, you will also get notified whenever I publish OneNote tutorials as well. So Anna, thank you so much for all these great ideas and
Thank
for
you
working
so
so
much.
hard with me to make this happen. I think we are 8 time zones apart.
I
So
know,
shout
crazy.
out to Anna for working with me on this.
Thank you so much for having me, really. It was
Yeah, my
amazing. It was really
pleasure.
fun.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, see you now.